Well, hello, welcome again to our reading of the Greek New Testament. I'm reading 1 Corinthians up to chapter 14, and I finished up at verse 6, which is the next main paragraph. So the context here is about speaking in tongues and prophecy. Nunde adelphoi ean eltho pros humas glossais lalon ti humas opho. Ean me humin neleso en apocalypse en gnose en prophetia and then in brackets didache. Homos ta apsuka phonein didonta eti aulos eti kithara eti diastolen tois phthongois meido pos gnothesetai to auluminon to kithares dominon. Kaiga eon adelon salpinx phonein do tis parascuacetai es polymon. Hutos kai humes diates glosses ean me eusemon logon doti pos gnothesetai to laluminon. Esestiga es aera laluntes. And I'll just pause there. So nunde, Paul likes this nunde or nunide sometimes if it's more emphatic. So but now, my brethren, aeon plus the subjunctive. So if I might come to you, lalone participle from lalio, speaking in tongues, tit o pheleso. This is the future from o pheleo. It's an epsilon contract verb. It means to be advantage of, to give assistance to. So how will I give assistance to you? So how will I assist you? How will I help you? Aeon me, unless laleso, future from laleo, I might speak to you either, now this is this instrumental use of n, either with a revelation, it's a dative from apocalypsis, third declension feminine noun, or with gnose, with knowledge, another dative from gnosis, third declension feminine noun, or with some prophecy. All of these are abstract feminine nouns, or with didache, or with some teaching. Now the homos is normally means nevertheless, but Paul possibly is using it here in the sense of homoios, so in like manner. So you probably need to supply a verb to be here. So it's something like it is like, it is as though, or it is like the one giving the things which give lifeless sound. In other words, so apsuka is alpha privated plus psuche, not possessing a soul, hence lifeless or inanimate. So it is like the things which give, perhaps almost produce, inanimate objects which produce phoneus sound. Probably best there. So it is like the things which, the inanimate things which give sound. And he gives examples, so 80. So either a flute, an aulos, 80 kithara, or a kithara. Now this is like a lyre or a harp or something. It's not technically one of those. It really is a separate instrument, but I'll just call it a harp. Ean diastolen tois phthongois me do. So if it does not give diastolen tois phthongois, literally a distinction to the sounds. So it's slightly obscure here. It means really as if you've got a flute or a harp, a kithara. So in other words, if it simply plays the same note. So if it does not give a distinction to its sounds. So if it's playing the same note, then how do you know what the tune is, basically, is what he's saying. So it is like these inanimate objects which give a sound, whether a flute or a harp. If they do not, make a distinction in the notes, might be a good translation here, pose how. Now the subject here I think is this passive participle here with the article, that which is being played on the flute, that which is piped, or that which is being played on the harp, from kitharisdo, these are passive present participles. So how will that which is piped or that which is played on the harp, gnothesetai, will they be understood? This is a future passive from ginosko. The root, of course, is gno, cognate with our English word know, K-N-O-W. So he's saying that if an inanimate musical instrument such as a flute or a harp does not make a distinction in the notes, how will that which is being played on the pipe, that which is played on the harp, how will it be understood? Kaiga eon adelon salpinx. For also if a salpinx is a trumpet, so if a trumpet might give an adelon phoneme, that is, adelon is alpha privative plus delos, which is clear or distinct. So if a trumpet might give an indistinct or unclear phoneme, literally voice, we just say sound, who paraskuasetai from paraskuadzo, this is who will, it's a middle here, future middle, who will prepare himself for war. The trumpet, of course, is meant to rally the troops off to war. So if the trumpet doesn't make a clear sound, then who will prepare himself for war? Hutos kai humas, thus also you, if you do not give through the tongue. Now this may be referring to speaking in tongues, but it may just simply be in your speech. So diates glosses is literally by means of the tongue, so perhaps through your speech. If you do not give a eusemon, this is a classical word, it means well marked. It's that you plus that same root, you get same may on a sign and so on. Probably here intelligible or distinct. So if you do not, by means of your tongue, give a distinct word, how will that which is being spoken, again the article plus the passive participle here, how will it be understood? Esses thega es a era laluntes, for you will be speaking to the air. So this is the second person plural from the verb to be. So it's esami in the future, goes into the middle, assess their second person plural. And we get here it's really a future periphrastic construction here. So rather than using a future of the verb to be, they use, as we do in English, use the future of the verb to be here and then laluntes. So you will be speaking to the air. The next section's a little bit tricky. Tosauta en tukoi gene phonon acn to en cosmo kai uden aphonon ean un me edo ten dunamin tes phones esamai to lalunti barbaros kai holalon en emoi barbaros hutos kai humes, epe celotai esti pneumaton, prosten oikodomen tes ecclesias te hina perisiu ete. I might just pause it there at 12. So we get slightly idiomatic here. Again, you may have to look at the commentaries on this. This tukoi, I should say, is it's slightly idiomatic here. The tukoi, this is actually an optative from the verb tunkano. The aorist of tunkano is etukon, so the root is tuch, and this actually is an aorist optative with a, and tunkano means to happen, so this is literally if it might happen, and it seems to have the sense of just idiomatically meaning perchance or perhaps. Some people take this to mean, for example, it's a post-classical usage, I think, but you do get tukon, which is a neuter participle used adverbially in Xenophon with the meaning of perchance or perhaps. So I'm going to translate this as, and that our main verb is actually down here, asin. So there are perchance tos auta gene. Gene is that word we had before. It's the neuter plural from genos, but here meaning kinds of. So, for there are perchance such kinds, or so many kinds, literally such kinds of phonae, literally of sounds, of languages in the world, and we get neuters here, uden aphonon, this is from alpha privative plus this phone, meaning intelligible, I think here. Probably neuter agreeing with the singular of this noun here, genos, and so it's neuter, so that's probably agreeing with that. And not, so the sense is not one of these kinds is unintelligible. So just a difficult little verse there. Let me just quickly do that again. So there are such, we would say so many, the Greek just says of such a kind. There are perchance such kinds of sounds, such kinds of languages, we might say, in the world, and not one of them is intelligible. Sorry, unintelligible. Not one of them is aphonon. If, therefore, me eido, I do not know, tain dunamin. Now dunamis, of course, means power, but probably here in the sense of force and then in the sense of meaning. We often use the word, what is the force of this word here? And this is same idea here. So if I do not understand the force or purpose or meaning of the sound, literally phonae of the voice, translated as sound, I will be barbaros. I will be, well, barbaric, but rather a foreigner to the one who is speaking it, and the one speaking it, understand, will be barbaros, a foreigner, in emoi, literally in me, but I think here, to me. Barbaros, of course, is a funny word. It was coined by the Greeks many centuries before, referring to the Persians, because their language sounded like bar, and hence they coined this word barbaros, those who spoke this language, which of course was Old Persian, and it comes into our language, and of course all our words barbaric and so on. Which is a bit sad, because the Persians of that period were far from barbaric. They were quite an advanced civilization. But so I will be a foreigner to the one speaking it, and the one speaking it will be barbaric, or perhaps the one speaking it among me or to me will be a foreigner. Hutos kai humes, thus also you, And now I haven't read this bit, I think. So hutos kai humes epe tselotai esti pneumaton pros ten oikodomain ecclesias zeta hina perisuete dio hot lelon glosse pros euchesto hina di hermenue eanga pros euchomai glosse top pneumamu dai hodenusmu akapos estin ti unestin pros euxomai to pneumati pros euxomai kai to noi psalo to pneumati psalo de kai to noi. And I'll just pause at that point there. So thus also you, since you are, this is the second person plural present from the verb to be, since you are so zelotai, from zelotes, first declension masculine noun, since you are zealous ones for spirits, you are zealous of the spirits, or zealous for the spirits. I think he means pneumatikon here, spiritual things, but he's written pneumaton, or he said pneumaton. So since you are so zealous for the things of spirits, seek, now the pros here is something like seek in regard to that which edifies, or seek towards the edification, I should say, of the assembly. Hina perisuete, subjunctive. Perisuo is to abound, here probably in the sense of excel, in order that you might excel. So seek in regard to that which is the edification of the assembly in order that you might excel. Dia, for dia plus hot, for which reason, we would say wherefore, the one speaking, pros euchesto is an imperative. It's a present imperative from pros euchomai, so it's a deponent middle. This is just the third person singular imperative. So the one speaking, let him pray, one speaking glosse in a tongue, let him pray hina in order that he might interpret, from de hermenuo. For if I, this is subjunctive here, if I might pray in a tongue, my spirit is praying, hodenusmu akapos esti, but my mind is fruitless. So my mind is not bearing any fruit. Ti unestin, what therefore, what then? Pros euxomai to pneumati, I will pray, this is now the future from pros euchomai, I will pray in the spirit, well, really an and rather than a but here, and I will pray also for the kai, to noi, with my mind. Psalo is a future here, the verb is psalo with double lambda, and so it's a liquid verb, so the double, one of the lambdas disappears in the future and you get psalo in the future here. I will sing, cognate with our word psalm in fact, I will sing in the spirit, and I will sing also with the mind. And the last section here, epe ean euloges, en in brackets pneumati ho anapleron, ton topon to idiotu pos ere to amen, epi te se eucharistia, epede tileges uk uden, sumen gar kalos eucharistes al hoheteros uk oikodometai, eucharisto to theo panton humon malon glossais lalo, alla en ecclesia thelo pentelogos logus to noimu lalesai, hinakai alus cat a queso e murius logus in glosse. So the epe ean here is it's literally when if. It's often translated as for otherwise. You bless, well, in brackets, you bless in the Spirit or with the Spirit. So for when, if you, so whenever really, I think. So when, if you bless in the Spirit, so for otherwise, you bless in the Spirit, but ho anapleron ton topon to idiotu. This is a slightly difficult expression here, and you'll need to look at the commentaries on this. An idiotes is a private citizen. We get the unkind modern English word idiot here. In earlier Greek, an idiotes was someone who kept to themselves and didn't partake in public life and politics. Back in ancient Athens, it comes to mean a private citizen. Paul seems to be using it in this context here as someone who is not yet fully part of the congregation, but perhaps is a catechumen, that is someone who is still undergoing instruction or is an interested party. So ho anapleron, the one literally filling up the place, so perhaps in the sense of occupying. So the one occupying the place of a, well, literally private citizen, perhaps someone who sits apart from the rest, perhaps an interested party. How, ere, will he say the Amen, epi, after, or perhaps to, your blessing. So if you bless in the Spirit in a way that they can't understand what you're saying, then the one who's occupying the place of an interested party, how will he say Amen at the end of your blessing, of your Eucharistia? Epede ti leges, since uk oiden, he will not know, ti leges, what you are saying. Su men, and not sure we get a debt for this. Doesn't look like there's a debt anywhere here. Possibly the Allah picks it up, but again, he often uses men with no debt here. So for you are blessing kalos well, so you are making an appropriate blessing, but the other person, uk oikodometai, is not being edified. So this is just a present here, and it's a passive. So although you have given an appropriate blessing, the other person is not being edified. Eucharisto to theo, pantone humain. So I give thanks to God that lalo I speak in tongues, malon pantone humon, more than all of you. Allah, but thello I wish. Got to go to the infinitive, and there's a variant reading here again. Lalesai, I wish to speak 5 words in my mind in the assembly, in order that also cat a queso I might instruct others, then understand to speak 10,000 words in a tongue. So just to do that bit again there. So I give thanks to God that I speak in tongues more than all of you, but in the church I wish to speak 5, so in other words I would rather speak, but he says I wish to speak 5 words in my mind, in order that also I might instruct others. Now this is from the verb katakio, It's a later word. It does turn up quite a bit in the New Testament. You get the word catechumen from it, someone who's being instructed. It's just the form from the passive. You get a word catechist, catechism, and so on from this word. It's formed from kata plus akeo. It's an epsilon contract verb. And it literally means to echo back. So when you instructed someone, when you learnt off the catechism, someone recites it to you, and you then recite it back, and so it's cognate with our word echo. So you echo back what they've said. Paul doesn't use this word very often. It's only used 3 times in Paul. So he says this: in order that I might instruct, it's subjunctive here, others, than understand to speak 10,000 words in a tongue. And that's the end of that section of chapter 14.